everybody, it's Catherine from Jayne, Catherine on Books, and this is part 2 of January wrap-up reviews of the books that I've read this month. Now I've read quite a lot. Looking at my on my Goodreads challenge, I've read quite a lot this month. Has been quite stressful because I have agreed to do quite a few reviews for publishers this month, and I suppose I've learnt that I'm going to have to eat that out a little bit. Not have so many in one month. I'm going to do a review of those in a separate video, but it's just then it feels pressured because you know you've got to review them on time, and obviously they're all being published in January, so hence I'm going to do a video promoting those in January, even though I'm not getting paid for doing so. Probably promoted is the wrong word, but talk about them, you know what I mean. Tell you what I think, good or bad. So the first book here is Serafina and the Black Cloak, and this is by Robert Beatty. Nice cover on that. Now I was looking forward to this. This is book 1. I think there's going to be a series of this. This is a middle grade, and I was looking forward to it because I liked the premise of this. It just said, for as long as Serafina can remember, she was brought up in the basement of a big old house, and this is where a father worked for the household, and she never went anywhere other than below stairs, shall we say. And then all the children above stairs in the family that own the house start disappearing. Well, I'm sorry to say I DNF'd it. I just couldn't get into it at all. I couldn't get into the character of Serafina or her father. Can't explain why, but I just couldn't. I think it may well be that other people really like this, but for me, sorry, I DNF'd it. Next, 2 stars. And sorry, this may well not be the most popular of my thoughts on BookTube. Grief is a Thing with Feathers, Max Porter. Now, I chose this because Eleanor from Eleanor Reads and Janet from Swirly Girly Reads, they're choosing a genre every month for them to read from their bookshelves, and they've chosen hype. So although I'm not going along with everything that they're doing, I'm trying to choose at least one book from their category. And this has been a very hyped book. Very, there's been some excellent reviews on this. Jen from Jen Campbell, it's something that she really has enjoyed and has reviewed that. So what I suggest you do with this, just because it's not my cup of tea, I suggest you go around and look at everybody else's reviews just to get a fair balance of things. This is, if you're not aware of it, this is a very unusual text, and I have to say I would give it more stars for how it's been set out, the originality of it and the concepts behind it. The 2-star rating is because I personally didn't particularly like what was written within it in some places, and there's a father, the dad, and his 2 sons. They've recently lost his wife and their mother, and whilst they're grieving, this crow comes to live with them, and it's not until sort of we get to the end of the book then that when Crow feels that they don't need him anymore, he goes. Now, yes, I can see it's very thought-provoking, and I have to say it has provoked all different emotions in me. So, you know, you could argue that it's done its job because it's made me think about it for longer than just finishing the book. I did finish it, and I've all sorts of emotions. I've been annoyed, I've been sad, I've been, what's the word, disgusted, I suppose, because I really didn't take to Crow. I didn't like how he wrote, and he was smelly and everything awful, that I just, to me, I represent death with white feathers and people, you know, having positivity and moving on. Yeah, grief probably. Grief is black. Grief isn't nice, it's smelly and it's horrible. And yeah, he's probably represented that, but sorry, I didn't like it. Next, 4-star review, The Selection by Kiera Class. Now, this series was recommended to me by Kerry Ann from Woman vs. Books, and I just originally just bought the one to see if I'd like it. And, you know, I looked at the cover and I thought, goodness me, this is going to be a bit fluffy, you know, bit whimsical. It'd be okay, but I'm not sure that it was anything of substance that I'd enjoy. I've got to be honest with that. And again, I've proved myself wrong. And I love this when I think, right, you know, don't always judge the book by the cover. And I know often that we do. Often we'll buy books because we love the look of the colour and we draw the cover even, and we're drawn to it. But yeah, I can see how that works. But sometimes we can be drawn to a beautiful cover and it's got a load of rubbish inside. Now, I wasn't drawn to this cover. It was a bit fairy, whimsical, light and fluffy for me. But it was great. It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. For those that you don't know, it's a bit of it's a dystopian fairy tale. It's set in the future, and it's in a way, it's set in America, and America is very much run, feels like a communist state, as it were, to me. And we've got different levels, different categories. So level 1, you are the hierarchy, you are the best of the best, you're, you know, really your royalty, that sort of thing. And we go down, we go down to 8, where these poor devils are scratching about in the streets. They've hardly got any money. And so, you know, in a way you've got a class system where people are expected to live within certain criteria that's set by the state, shall we say. Now we have a young girl called America who has a chance to get out. She's a category 5 and she's got a chance to get out of that and better herself. And the prince of the country is looking for a wife, and they hold what they call is the selection, where girls from across all classes, shall we say, across all the counties in America have got a chance to apply, and they go to the palace, and you know, it's a matter of dwindling down to the favourites. It's like a future, how can we say, blind date, shall we say. It's a bit like future blind date, those sort of reality TV shows in a way that we see now. I loved the characterisations. I really love the character of America. I really enjoy the character of Maxon, who is the prince. Now there's a bit of a love triangle type of thing going on, because she previously has been in love with this other guy who was in a lower station than her, so it was always going to be difficult. And that's all I'll say about that, because, you know, you just need to read this. Very well written. Yeah, I've bought the whole series now. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Next, The Night Rainbow, Claire King. Lovely cover. Nice cover there. Now, I was drawn to this book, although I have seen it, a few more people have been reviewing it lately, but I was first drawn to this because Claire King, when I was reading came across some information about Claire King, the author. She comes from Mexborough, which is where all my dad's family come from. My grandma and granddad had a shop there. It's very much mining town, really, in South Yorkshire, and that's where she's from. So I sort of was interested. I you know, I did contact her and say, you know, you're from Mexborough, my family's from there, nice to meet you. And she replied, and it sounds a really nice lady. So that really encouraged me to read. This is her debut, and the premise of this is set in France. and we have a mother and her 2 daughters who they've recently lost the father. So she's recently lost her partner, they've lost their father, and you can see as the story goes on, I feel that she has very much, the mother very much got clinical depression. Prior to the father dying, she had lost a child. She did have a stillbirth, and she was just grieving from that, and the children recognised it was never quite the same after she lost this baby, and then unfortunately her partner died. And she spends most of the day in bed, and we've got the 2 children, P, who is 5, and then her sister. I'm trying to think what her sister's called now. I should know. Margot. And then little Margot, who's 4. Now, P is the narrator, and it's lovely the writing's beautiful, and you can see that they had this adventurous summer, and all the freedom that they had and all the exciting things that they did. And it's magical. In a way, it reminds me of my own childhood, going back to the 70s, growing up, and I feel that it was a lot safer really in those days. We used to go wandering around, not probably at 5 and 4, but I know when I was about 11 and my sister was 4 years younger than I, we'd go off, Mum would pack us up with sandwiches and we'd go all over the place. You know, we'd go pretending to be railway children and go walking on an old disused railway, and we had a really free and magical time. And so it reminded me of those days, because it's a shame, I think, now that we can't allow our children quite the same freedom in today's age, I don't feel, unless you live in the remote areas where you know it's definitely safe. Well, nothing's definite, is it? But you know what I mean. The writing was beautiful. It's narrated by P. That's just her shortened name. She's called Peony, and she also has a name in French, the French equivalent, because the father's French, the mother's English. And the characters are beautiful. I love them both. And in some ways, the younger girl, Margot, she's very matter of fact. She's very grown up, and they look after each other. The relationship the 2 girls have really was heartwarming. And I feel sad in some ways that nobody recognises that this mother is really suffering and needs help, because she's really, the children are neglected. We have to say they are neglected. And you can tell from the narration that that wasn't always the case. Before she lost the baby and her partner, she wasn't neglecting her children and everything was fine. So she really does need help, I feel. And the only reason I gave it 4-star and I didn't give it a full 5-star is that I felt that I wanted the girls to be a bit older. I felt really that they wouldn't, although they are, children are quite grown up nowadays, I don't think a 5.5-year-old and a 4-year-old would really get up to and have the sense to act and do things like P and Margot did. That's just a minor criticism for me. If they'd have been perhaps 11 and 9, something like that, it would have had a full 5 stars for me. It was totally believable. But in some ways, I had to keep telling myself, I pretended they were older, because to start with, it was spoiling my enjoyment a little bit of it, because I kept thinking, well, they wouldn't do that, you wouldn't let them do that, they shouldn't be doing that, they wouldn't think like that at that age. So really the only criticism is that, and the ending, it wasn't satisfactory enough for me. I felt that there were some things that were resolved amongst a partner's family, and I feel that the family would be getting more support. And forgot to mention that the mother is pregnant again, so she's had a hard lot. She's lost a baby, she lost a partner when she was first pregnant, and now she's going to face all this alone. I just would have liked to have, it just wasn't quite fitting in with how seriously depressed she was, the ending for me. But that doesn't take away from the fact it was an amazing book. The writing's beautiful, the characters are beautiful, well worth a read. Just a couple of little things that, you know, I'd like to have changed. I know that Claire has just, I've just written it down here, Everything Love Is. So in December with Bloomsbury, Everything Love Is Claire's latest novel, and I can't wait to read that. I think that'll be a good read too. See what you think about that. Let me know what your thoughts were if you've read it. And then finally, my 5-star read, Good Old Agatha, and Then There Was None. Now, I've not read this for 40 years, dare I say. We read this in high school. When I was in the 4th year, whatever was it, when you're 15. We did plays. I was involved in the, you know, the drama for my house. And we did the play of Agatha Christie. And it was great fun. But I don't remember it. I didn't remember it. It's too long ago. So I thought, yeah, I want to give this a reread. And it's just great. You know, it's a standalone Agatha Christie. It's not Poirot. It's not Miss Marple. It was a little confusing to start with because you're introduced very quickly to the 10 characters, the main 10 characters. And I just wrote myself a little memoir of who they were and how old they were, that sort of thing. And once I'd referred back to that a couple of times, I was away, you know, it sort of stuck in my mind who everybody was. And it was ingenious, I felt, you know, you were hooked, they were on this island. They'd all been lured to this deserted island, no way of getting off the island. And they were all killed off one by one. So there's not just been one murder, there's been 10. And you were kept hooked all the way, and you kept changing your mind who you thought the murderer was. I didn't guess who the murderer was. Very clever for its time, very well written, well deserved of 5 stars for me. So yeah, so I'm continuing on with my reading of Agatha Christie. I mean, if you want advice on where to go with, I'm only just new to reading Agatha Christie. I've been an avid watcher of all the TV adaptations, but Louise, the big head bookworm, she's the expert, I think, on all things Agatha. So yeah, if you want to know more about what best book to read, etc., go and see what Louise's channel's got to offer. So there we go. That's a review of some of the books that I've read this month, and be back soon. I'm going to be doing my what was I going to say? My publishers reads from NetGalley. That's going to be coming soon. There's some crackers in there actually for some new publications that are out this January. But until then, thanks for joining me. Much love. Bye for now.